Thank you.
I now recognize the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Van Drew, for questions.
Thank you, Chairman and Ranking Member Cacco, and thank you to the witnesses for testifying to the committee today. Unfortunately, we are here again addressing the exponential rise in cyber threats. Last year, 14 of the 16 critical infrastructure sectors experienced a ransomware attack of some type. These threats are real and they are still increasing. A few years ago in my district, the Atlantic County Utilities Authority, located in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, was the victim of a cyber attack. The Utilities Authority reported an incident in which perpetrators gained unauthorized access to sensitive data of their customers. Additionally, operational information was withheld as the criminals demanded ransom. Fortunately, the overall function of the authority was minimally impacted, but the fallout could have been far worse. Services like utility authorities are vital to day-to-day life, and it is imperative that Congress and the administration continue to invest in protecting critical infrastructure everywhere, small or large, in every way. It affects every aspect of our life. Mr. Adam Meyers, you may be aware, part of the Colonial Pipeline runs through my district. The pipeline and several other companies and industries have been victims of ransomware attack in the recent years. And I'm concerned about the proliferation of these attacks. Why have they become more rampant, and what can Congress do? And I know you've outlined some of this, but to really get to the rub, what could we do, or do you think we should do? What more can we do to help organizations mitigate them? This is going to be the great challenge for the next how many years, I don't know, but for many, many years. And it's something that we need to do even better with. What more would you, if you were the president or you could control everything, what would you do right now?
Thank you. That's a good and challenging question to answer. The increase in these attacks, I think, first and foremost, is occurring because these adversaries are making money. In the course of 2021, we observed somewhere around 50 or so ransomware incidents per week. The average ransom demand was around $6.1 million. So on any given week, we were looking at around $300 million in potential ransom demands that were being issued to victims. This is something that I think we need to attack on multiple fronts. We need to think about it in terms of the financial viability. If we disrupt the financial viability of these operations for these threat actors and make it more expensive for them to operate, it's going to potentially reduce the incentive for them to conduct these types of operations. Employing the right technology, many organizations, particularly across the US and in critical infrastructure, are relying on legacy tools and software that were conceptualized in the late 90s for security today. And the threats have advanced, the technology also needs to advance. So organizations need to invest in security to appropriately defend against these attacks. From a government perspective, I think that both law enforcement has been making tremendous strides. CISA through JCDC and partnerships have been able to share information. And I think that the information sharing between the public and private sector is absolutely critical to ensure the success and the ability for us to defend these infrastructures. Finally, I think the legislation that was passed recently in terms of the reporting requirements is a step in the right direction and will enable us to more effectively marshal our forces to fight against these types of attacks.
Yet we still do need to do better, correct? When you mention that we have legacy, infrastructure in place to deal with this, that tells me that you think we should be doing more and should be more on the cutting edge.
Absolutely, and I think that the executive order that was issued regarding employing things like endpoint defense and response technology, zero trust, one of the things that we've observed over the last year is that organizations that were impacted by these ransomware actors and criminal actors, and also state-sponsored actors, those that employed zero trust and strong identity management had very different outcomes than those that did not.
Okay, so that tells us that hopefully if we're here again in a year, another year, that we hopefully can say, hey, we've done more, we're doing better in those areas that you just mentioned. Finally, do we have the smartest, best most knowledgeable people on the government side working on this, candidly.
I believe so. I think that particularly working with CISA over the past several months, it's been, and having spent years in government prior to CrowdStrike, I think that we are absolutely moving in the right direction, that the workforce has become much smarter and much more capable, and we're continuing to train and operationalize that.
The gentleman's time has
Thank
expired.
you for your answers.